Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. I just got home yesterday after being away for the last 6 days, so today is going to be a plant chore dedicated day. I have a bunch of watering to do as well as some other knickknacks. My plants did fairly well for the most part. I didn't lose any. There was no casualties by any means. I do have a couple that are looking a little bit droopy, so they need a good thorough watering. Might talk a little bit about how I set these plants up while on vacation for almost a week, so let's get started. I'm going to start off with my Alocasia coupre. It's really dry right now. I did water this before I left, and you can see I lost one leaf, so I'm just going to remove the dead foliage. You can see there's a little growth point popping out through the soil there. So just because I lost one leaf, that's not necessarily due to being on vacation or lack of water. It might just be the natural progression of the plant and the oldest or the lowest leaf dying off. So yeah, I'm going to take this over to my shower over here. My portable plant shower that I fabricated is out of commission right now. I'm using it as an outside water collection bin. I'm spraying off the front and the back side of the leaves, as I've noticed a couple plants that have actually had spider mites, so I just want to make sure that there's nothing on this one. Usually a good blast of water, like I said, on the front and the back side is sufficient for spider mites, but I also like to just kind of rub the leaves. You can use a like a microfiber cloth or a paper towel, making sure you clean the front and the back side, specifically near the petiole here where the stem attaches to the leaf. And this one definitely needs to be watered as well, so I'm just going to give this one a good soaking until it comes out to the bottom of the drain hole. If you have a really bad spider mite issue or any pest issue, you can also use a product like Safer's insecticidal soap. Basically, you just coat the leaf with this liquid solution, let it dry. It's no longer effective after it dries, and then you can spray down the plant with water, just cleaning off the leaves as well. But that's pretty much it. So I'm going to take this one back and we'll move on to the next. Plant right here is my Anthurium magnificum. Look at how large this newest leaf. It's absolutely gorgeous. It is finally hardened off. It's stunning. It's got a little yellow leaf right here, which I'm going to cut off in a second. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but it's in a smaller terracotta pot. And if I place it directly on the table, you can see the leaf is actually folded over. It's draping on the table. So I have to modify it just temporarily, maybe until I get a larger pot with this Aloe vera pot. I'm just placing it on top just like that. So the leaf is not touching the table anymore. Typically, I like to cut off any leaves that are starting to yellow and die off like this one. It is really of no value to the plant anymore. I know there's plenty of debate out there to leave those leaves on as the plant reabsorbs nutrients. Yeah, I just find that it is susceptible to pests a little bit more easier, from what I've read anyways. Most times I will try and just remove the leaf from the stem. This one's still stuck on there pretty good. So I'm just going to cut this one off. I remember reading somewhere that it's good to remove leaves that are turning yellow just because some insects are actually attracted to yellow or the color yellow. That's why we use those little sticky yellow traps for fungus gnats, aphids, thrips, and that sort of thing. So that's why I like to remove yellow leaves, is because I find that some pests are attracted or more attracted to the color yellow, so I like to get rid of them. And plus, I don't like the way it makes my plants look. So right now, I'm going to take this over to the shower here. I'm going to spray off the leaves, the front and the back, and then this one is also needing a good thorough watering. I like to top dress my anthuriums with sphagnum moss, so I do have it in a fairly chunky mixture, and then I top dress with sphagnum moss. When the sphagnum moss is dry, or when it's a little bit crunchy, I know that the soil is dry as well. So this is kind of an easy way to tell whether an anthurium needs to be watered. I do grow anthuriums two different ways. Obviously one in the pot, and then the other method, which I've had really good success with, is actually growing them in the no drainage container. So just basically a glass vessel like this. This one is also getting a yellow leaf, which I'll take care of here in a minute. But yeah, both methods are working really well. So yeah, I don't know what else I'm going to say about that. So I'm going to take this over to the shower and give it a good watering. Okay, it's been thoroughly watered. I'm just going to place it here so you can see it's been sprayed down on the front and the back side. You can take a paper towel as well and just dry off the leaves. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, now for this one, I'm going to show you how I water in the no drainage. You can see there's no standing water or anything at the bottom. This is the Anthurium doriaci silver. This is a new leaf coming in, obviously, and then this is one of the older ones that are dying off. I know if I was a bug like a fungus gnat or a thrip, I would be definitely checking out this juicy yellow leaf. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. It's just, obviously, that makes sense. If they're attracted to yellow, yellow leaf, so I'm going to cut this off. This one's looking a little bit crispy here as well, but I'm going to be leaving this one. So again, I'm going to try and remove this just by pulling the leaf off, just like that. This one came off really easy. There's no scarring or anything that is on the main stem. That will just heal over, and I'll just discard of this. Now, one method that I like to use to check for houseplant pests, just because it can be a little bit difficult with the naked eye to see any pests, I like to use a little flashlight, and I just like to illuminate the back side of the leaf. Just kind of position it behind the leaf, and sometimes it'll illuminate any spider webs or that sort of thing. So I'm not seeing any specks on the leaf. There's one right there, but it looks like a piece of dust on the top. If there's a thrip or something on the underside of the leaf and you shine a light behind it, you will see a black dot, but I'm not seeing anything on this. Maybe a little suspicious right here. There's a little bit of browning right there, but it looks more like physical damage instead of pest damage. So I'm going to spray this one off as well, and then I'm going to give it some water. I like to use my misting bottle, my garden sprayer, and I will spray the top of this soil and then let that drain down until I see a little bit of water pooling at the bottom. You see there's just a little bit of pooling of water at the bottom, so that's all I will give it for water. I'll set this aside and we'll continue on with a few others. I'm going to deal with this droopy peace lily here in a second, but probably the easiest or the number one thing that you can do for your houseplants while on vacation is reduce the light. So I have all these plants downstairs here under artificial grow lights, and what I did is I actually turned off a couple of them. So I have my mother plant spectrum down here. I turned these two off. I also turned off these little clamp lamps, and I just left my Soltech Aspect grow lights, these pendant ones, and my Highland track system up there. So those are the ones that I left on. Otherwise, I turned off every other lamp. When you have plants receiving a lot of light, they like to use a lot of water. So that's how you can conserve water, is just by reducing light. Now, if you have your plants in natural sunlight, obviously indoors, then you can just pull a curtain, or you can move your plants back away a little bit further from the window. So that's the easiest way to maintain soil moisture when you're on vacation, is just reduce the light, provide a little bit of shade, however you decide to do it. I fill up these jugs with filtered tap water, and I've been testing it recently with a pH testing kit. Turns out my tap water is fairly alkaline. It's a pH of 8. Houseplants need a pH of between 6 and 7 in order to uptake nutrients. Otherwise, if you have something that is too alkaline or too acidic, it's not going to be able to use those nutrients or the fertilizer that you give it. So I've been adding a product called pH Down from Root Farm. This helps lower the pH to the appropriate levels in your tap water, and I also use a very diluted amount of fertilizer. This is the Foliage Pro Dynagrow, and I mix it up in a container like this, and then I just add it to my watering can. So I'm going to give this one to the Peace Lily. Hopefully you can perk it back up here. So all I'm going to do is add this entire jug into the pot. And I'm going to let that kind of soak through until it comes out the bottom of the drain hole. This one will perk up in no time. I think by the afternoon. It's morning right now, so this thing should just perk right back up. It is getting another flower. This thing is huge. It's getting some new leaves here as well, so nothing's coming out the bottom yet. I might give it a little bit more, just something like that. This is the second jug, so I'll let that soak through, and if I have to give it some more water, then I definitely will. But these leaves, they're huge, they're beautiful. I'm definitely not going to be able to get through all of these houseplants in this video. I have a ton of stuff, but it's really difficult, or it's time consuming filming and doing plant chores at the same time, because I have to set up different camera angles, move the camera around, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to probably go through a few more plants, and then I'll wrap it up for this video. Here is my anthurium. This is the crystallinum. Here's the newest leaf. yeah, it's sizing up quite nice. It's actually got a little inflorescence here as well. It has not started the receptive phase where it gets kind of that sticky sap, and then it moves into the pollen phase. So it hasn't done that yet. This crispy leaf, I'm going to cut this off. And again, there's plenty of debate out there whether to leave leaves on or not. Yeah, I'm just gonna cut it off. It's not yellowing or anything like that, but I find it leaves it susceptible to bugs and pests. I'm also cutting these ones off because they were draped right on the side of the pot, just for space saving reasons, as well as the leaf is not looking the greatest. I'm going to cut that off. Again, I'm not a plant expert or anything like that, so it shouldn't harm this leaf at all or the inflorescence. Yeah, there's obviously less space or less little panels to photosynthesize, so I don't know how the plant is necessarily going to react if I cut off all the leaves, but I'm okay with this one leaf wonder right now, and I'm going to give this one some water. So you can see the moss, it's crispy. So I'm going to take this one over to the shower here in a minute to spray off the leaf, but whoops. But I am going to water with the watering can, and I just like to do almost like a little crisscross pattern, just making sure that all the moss is saturated, and again, let that flow out the bottom of the drain hole. Sometimes I like to put my finger over the bottom and just plug it, and then give it some water, so that it has time to really absorb the water in the soil and not just freely flow out the bottom. So give it a minute to soak in, or you can even just leave it in the saucer for a minute just to kind of soak up that moisture or that water that it needs, and then empty out the saucer when you're done. I probably don't do it enough, but one thing I like to do is after you empty out the saucer, just give it a good thorough rinse. I just take it over to the bathroom, just spray it off so it's a nice clean saucer, and that way there's no pests or any pesky critters in there. So a healthy pot, plant, all that kind of stuff helps out with keeping pests away. I'm going to give my Summer Glory here some water in a second, but the next tip I want to talk about is keeping your houseplants at a consistent temperature when you're away. I like to keep mine around 21, 22 degrees. You can see it's 23 right now. I know here in Canada we can get some pretty drastic heat waves throughout the summer, so if you let it get quite high for an extended period of time, the plant is going to use more water and dry out much faster. So I know it's probably not a popular choice, but there are a number of different smart thermostats out there where you can set the parameters. I have mine at 25 degrees, so if it gets anything higher than that, then the air conditioner will cut on when we are away. Just keeping those plants at a consistent temperature. Otherwise, you could come home and find a lot of crispy, droopy plants. So now I'm just going to soak this one, then I'm going to take it over to the shower, and I'm going to spray off the leaves of this one here as well. Again, just letting it drain through the bottom. You can even let it sit in a container like this, and again, just really soak in that moisture, that water that you give it. Now I'm going to put my spray bottle right here. This is the fertilizer and pH down mixture. This is my little Philodendron domesticum. It's on a moss pole. This one's really dry, so I'm just going to put a little bit of water. I know there's different methods of putting like a water bottle and stuff on top. For this little guy, I'm just going to use my little spray wand and slowly water in the moss here like this, letting it drain through into the soil. And then I'll take this over to the bathroom just to spray off the leaves, just making sure that they are clean, dust-free, pest-free. Another couple tips you can do is group plants together. I've never done any actual experiments with humidity, but when you group plants together, it's supposed to create like a little microclimate, kind of increased humidity levels. So when you have plants that are well watered, obviously it's going to evaporate some of that moisture. That creates a little bit of humidity in the area. So when you group them together, the theory is that it creates a little bit of a more humid area when they're kind of grouped or clustered together. Some other things that you can do are have plants in self-watering pots. So plants like calatheas, or even my Homelamina over here that doesn't like to dry out really at all. You can use a self-watering pot. It basically has a bottom reservoir. It wicks up water when needed. So those are just some other ways to, I guess, help your plants along when you're on vacation. If you're gone for an extended period of time, like more than a week, I would suggest getting a friend or someone to come check on your plants. I have a lot of expensive plants downstairs here, and if I go for anything more than a week, then I will probably get a good plant friend to come in and just water my plants. Someone that knows what they're doing or what they're looking for, and just not like your neighbor. Nothing wrong with my neighbors, but if they were to come in and just, you know, blanket water everything, I would probably be dealing with some dead plants. So those are just some couple other tips, I guess. Otherwise, what I did is I kind of let most of my plants dry out a little bit more, just so I can get them all watered basically the day before I leave. So having a well-watered plant when you're away, decreasing the light, and grouping them together, these are all things that can help a plant survive, I think up to like a week. Again, depending on your climate, your conditions in your house, they might be drastically different than mine, but those are just some very basic tips on keeping your plants alive when you go away for, this is, like I said, essentially a week or less. If it's anything more than that, get someone to come in, check on your plants, train them what to look for. As I mentioned, a few of my houseplants have spider mites, and they're all actually alocasias. Now this is what I do, and I'm not saying to go cut up your plant or anything like that, but most times when you have an alocasia leaf that has spider mites, you're going to get a lot of yellowing, you're going to get some spotting. I don't like the way those leaves look, and instead of spraying off every leaf and trying to save a leaf that is going to die anyways, I just like to cut them off. Now when you do that, you have to watch out for these little kind of jut out portions on the petiole, because that's where a new leaf will come from. So you can see right there, there's a new leaf emerging from the last newest leaf. So you just want to avoid cutting that section right there. You can cut anywhere above that. So you can see this whole section of stem, you can cut anywhere along this, just not in this spot, because you can see a leaf pops out of there, and then it just continues that process. Now I cut back this alocasia completely a few months ago, again because of spider mites, and these sections or these leafless stems will eventually just dry up and you can pull it off, and you end up getting a fresh looking plant with new leaves. So yeah, I'm going to spray these off again, just making sure that there's no, see, this is suspicious right there. Now just checking the back side right here, you can see a little bit of dusting. I don't know if it's going to focus or not. There's a little bit of dust. It looks like dust right here. Those are spider mites. So when I wipe it away, you can see it's gone. So this has spider mites as well. So that's why I like to wipe the leaves off entirely and spray them off, because there's going to be little webs that you can barely even see. A little bit of yellowing here. Yeah, so a little bit, it looks like dust right there. And if you can see it, wipe that away. So this has spider mites as well. All of my alocasias have spider mites right now. So yeah, I'm going to save these ones. I'm going to spray it off. But yeah, if you don't want to save a leaf that is dying anyways, cut them off. It will regrow. So I think I'm going to finish off with that for now. I have a ton more of watering to do, which I'm not going to get done if I keep filming, so I might do a part 2 sometime. But yeah, I think that's going to be pretty much it for this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it down below in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and thanks for all the support. I really appreciate it. Take care, everyone. Bye.